sports betting. So election day was 2 days ago. We're filming this on Thursday, November 10th. California had sports betting on the ballot, and only 16% of people voted yes on this. And it absolutely blows my mind. I, for the life of me, cannot figure out why sports betting is illegal anywhere.
Yeah, I was shocked by this because I didn't know this was, obviously I don't live in California, but I didn't know this was on their ballot, and I didn't know this happened because I was a little too focused on my own state. And when you sent me this article, I was shocked that it only got 16%, with nearly $600 million had been raised in an effort to legalize sports betting.
Exactly.
So it had significant financial backing.
I'm confused because typically you see more liberal blue states that have sports betting, and the red states don't. Like Florida doesn't.
No.
Ohio's getting ours in January, like legally. But like Pennsylvania has it. I just feel like the blue states are more apt to have it. So for a very blue state to totally shoot this down, I'm not really sure what the messaging was to voters against it, but I'm just really confused.
So I thought it was interesting how it said, because same thing, I was curious, like, what was the reasoning behind it being like shot down so quickly? And there's a quote from that one of the tribal chairmen told the Associated Press, "Voters have real and significant concerns about turning every cell phone, laptop, and tablet into a gambling device, the resulting addiction and exposure to children."
I mean, any state you can download an online poker app and do the same shit.
Yeah, and I feel like this is kind of like that argument that it reminds me more like back in the day when video games became so popular, but people bring it up all the time about if kids are playing violent video games, and that means they will be like violent people, essentially. And I feel like that's almost kind of the similar argument they're making here with gambling, is like if a kid downloads the app, they're going to have a gambling addiction. And again, I think it comes down to the parents and kind of making sure, like, in the know about what their kids are up to. And like, I'm sure there's like parental controls on cell phones, or like you can't download this app if you don't have the right password, or I don't know. I'm sure there's ways around that.
This is such a bold parenting tip for parents, but don't give your children access to credit cards on their mobile devices. Just a thought.
Yeah, I really don't think, like, even as an adult, I mean, I like if I needed my parents' card for something, but like I don't think I had a credit card until I was like in college, and it was really just for emergencies. And then like I never had like straight access to my parents' cards, if that makes sense. Like I would always have to ask, like, hey, and they normally would do it for me, or like you type it in and give it back and like you're done.
Yeah, I would have been killed if I did something like that.
Same. Like if I made a bet for like $100, even like $20. I remember, so like back in the day when iTunes was obviously you had to pay for music. And my mom, even still to this day, she's like very stickler on her credit card statement. And she would like go down it at the end of the month and be like, who charged 99 cents on iTunes? Because you had to buy songs or like albums and stuff. And she would be so pissed. And that's why I started using like LimeWire and shit like that, because I would download it illegally. But I could only imagine like making a bet with my parents' credit cards.
Oh, especially if you didn't hit the bet, especially if you lost.
Exactly. Be a little different if you won. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting argument. That the reasoning behind it is the like, I guess, anxiety about your children becoming like addicted to gambling.
Okay, maybe this is just me, but I feel like not everybody who said no on that is doing it for kids. Like
No,
I
there's
don't
no way.
I don't vote based on children. Usually, just depends, but I usually vote based on me. I just like don't believe that everyone that voted no is like this is for kids. I don't know, but it said only 4.6 million people in California voted on this prop, which is not a lot of people at all.
No. And again, even it says like a proposition that would have legalized sports betting at tribal casinos and horse tracks received less than 30% support. So I think it's like just a larger pushback against gambling as a whole.
It still had like double the support though of sports betting, which is interesting that they didn't poll at the same amount. Like who said yes to that and no to sports betting?
I think because you have to go physically to a place and place your bets. Whereas this is just like you pull like fully mobile. Like you can just pull it up or online, pull it up on your phone or online. And that's why I think it goes back like why they added in this article from CBS Sports that it's concerned about kids. But I think just maybe concerned about gambling addiction as a whole. I think that people were opposed to the ease of access to it.
In the state where weed is legal? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Like if this was from Florida, I'd be like, okay, this makes sense. But I think it's the fact that it's coming from California. And it also says, and not saying that like this would have 100% happened because sometimes you don't know where your tax money is going. But it says they have promised to funnel tax revenues to aid the homeless, mentally ill, and poorer tribes if the sports betting bill were to pass.
Yeah, that's why I think it's so. I'm surprised this went to a vote because in Ohio we didn't vote on this. The government was just like, "Yeah, we're doing this," because I mean it leads to a lot of money coming in. So I'm surprised California wasn't just like, let's hop on board, and they just left it up to the people. That's another interesting aspect of it, but whatever. I don't live there. I always say I'm glad I don't live there. Not that I live somewhere extremely better, but still.
Me either. I don't think I'll ever see gambling or sports gambling legalized in Florida, but we'll see. I mean, it says like 30 states are on board at this point.
I feel like we could see it in Florida. I think wouldn't you guys just say no though? I think you guys didn't pass it actually pretty recently.
Yeah, I think it was in the last not the presidential election, but the one before that.
Looks like it's going on the 24 ballot again.
Sick. Let's see what happens. I'm sure Florida will F it up just like they do with everything else politically, so
legalize sports betting. That is the stance this podcast is taking. I won't hear anything against it. Because remember Good.
No, I was just going to say, I just think it's interest. And again, so I feel like in a lot of political issues in our society, people want to like focus on the minute details rather than the larger problem. So like your concern is that kids are going to be or people just in general, because I don't think it's just the kids. I think it's just people are going to be so locked in online on their cell phones, on the internet, blah, blah, blah. Like that's already an issue.
Right. I don't understand why this is even, I don't get why this is an issue at all. Like people are dying. So, I mean, let's move on to something else. Maybe.
Yes. And I think again, like the tax revenue from that would have helped people who are dying, like the homeless. And again, there's a huge homeless issue in California, but across the US, and it's only going to get worse. So I don't know. I think it's really interesting that they shot this down, and not just shot it down, but like only 16% support.
Yeah, it's like, nah, fuck no. We're not voting for this. So,
yeah.
Interesting.
And maybe we're like being biased right now. So like if you have another thought or opinion, like argument against it, like let us know. Because I can't think of many.
I can't wrap my head around it. Do you remember we went to the Man City game, and it's legal over there? Like we had people in the class like betting on the game, and you could go up to a counter and bet on, the over, under, the spread, those types of things. And it was an integral part of the experience for people over there. And it just doesn't make sense why we haven't completely moved that over to the United States yet.
Yeah. And I think like even reflecting too, like as a kid, growing up in New York, we would go to the horse track, like I wouldn't say frequently, but a good amount. Like it's what we would do sometimes. And like my dad or my poppy would let us like bet on, I usually pick like the best name or whatever. And we would pick like, duh, don't know anything else. And we would bet like, they would let us, like they would place the bet for us. And even like growing up, like for my whole life, my family would get together. We would watch the Kentucky Derby, and my dad would always have us like bet on one of the like we would tell him, oh, we want to bet on this one. And I get it is different because it's not like on my phone, like as easy of access, and it was through my parents' regulation, but still like I don't have a gambling problem. Like it was just like a fun thing to do. And again, my parents are the one who regulated it and like allowed us to do it. So I feel like it's more the responsibility with the adult. Like a kid shouldn't be having a BetGM app or MGM app or whatever it's called. Like, no.
Kids shouldn't be on FanDuel. Yeah.
Yeah, like, no, that shouldn't be allowed. And I'm almost positive that they have a prompt that comes up that you have to be 18 or older anyway. And I'm sure you have to put in your birthday. Like, there's probably like roadblocks on those apps. And then just as a parent, add more roadblocks on your kid's phone. Or maybe don't give your kid a phone, like a smartphone at 10 years old.
Yeah, there's definitely things you can do to prevent your child from gambling online and like doing drugs and like all those things. So like that's on the parents, not the government. So whatever.
Yeah, and again, we grew up, like our parents raised us in an age where the internet was just becoming a thing, and like there was a lot of uncertainties around it, and I had so many restrictions as a kid.
Yeah, we turned out totally fine.
Yeah, we're fine. We don't have gambling.
No gambling addictions here.
No,
it's fine.
All good. I literally went to Vegas a few weeks ago for a bachelorette, and I didn't even gamble because I was scared.
I don't like casinos. I think they're sad.
I just was like I think a part of it was like I was intimidated because like the tables, the only game I know how to play is blackjack, and I'm still like, no, I just don't know. And even like the slot machines and stuff, I was like, what's going on?
I think they're a sad, windowless place filled with smoke for old, sad people. No offense if you like to go to casinos. That's just the vibe I get from every single one I get to.
Honestly, the casinos in Las Vegas were really cool and fun. Yeah. And like they're everywhere, so it feels more natural. But like I remember going to like the Hard Rock Casino here in like Tampa, and I'm just like, this is weird.
The vibes are bad at the Hard Rock in Tampa.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Vegas is a different story, but whatever.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how casinos maneuver when the oldies are gone, because that feels like a large chunk of their client base.
Probably. I will say though, in Vegas there was a huge mix, and it was a lot of young people.
I think that's just where you go to gamble, you know?
Yeah, like it's a part of
a little different
experience.
Yeah, when you hit up another state or you go on like a cruise ship in their casino, it's the oldies.
So,
Big fan of the oldies. Just kidding.
I wonder if the oldies voted for or against this bill.
You would think they are voting for with how much they use the slot machines, but you never know.
Yeah.
You never know how a prop was written.
That's true. And like you said, like how was this marketed as well? Both for the pro and for the con.
Some of the props on ours were like 3 to 5 paragraphs. I'm like, what is this? I had to go look it up. They make them very wordy. And I feel like sometimes people just don't vote for them and they vote no because they don't want to read it.
Because, yeah, or they're confused. Like in Florida, we had 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're a paragraph because they do the English and then Spanish as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember there was one this time that I had to read it multiple times. And I did my research before and I was like, wait, is this the one? Because again, like you said, I feel like they try to make it confusing or like they throw in big words and then you're just like, what? And it's like, vote yes if blah, 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 which I feel like was helpful, and vote no if. If it was just a yes or no, I would have been confused.
Right. Yeah, I had to hit up the internet for like all of ours because it's like, I'm not messing this up. So,
yeah.
Do your due diligence.
Research.
In conclusion, gamble responsibly, vote yes for sports betting, and this is sports betting friendly podcast because we like sports.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Next. What's our